It's 7 p.m. We are live from Cherry Duck Studios, which can mean only one thing. Welcome to our new show. Hello, good evening, welcome. I'm Guy, this is Dave.
Good
and
evening.
Welcome to our first show.
Thank you.
We're live.
We are live.
It's all finally happened.
It's actually happening, right?
Seems like a long time ago since we first spoke about this, but we're going.
But it also feels really grown up now as well.
I know, all these people, we've got amazing thing, we've got crew here, we've got everybody all around us. I suppose we better get on with it. Do you want to tell everybody what we're up to?
We should. So tonight, we will be telling you all about our US road trip. If you've been following us along on Facebook, you know that Guy and I went off gallivanting around the US a little while ago now, wasn't it, Guy? And we went to some pretty cool places. We did Valley of Fire, and we did Yosemite, and we did the Mesquite Dunes and Death Valley. And we took some pretty cool kit with us too, and we're going to be wrapping that all up this evening, telling you what we loved, what we thought was amazing, awesome places we went to, showing you some of the results, and generally having a good old chinwag about it.
Yes, indeed. Dave is a Canon man through and through, so I wanted to contact him and I wanted to get him to actually look at other cameras apart from his beloved camera, his lovely, blessed Canon 5DSR. So I took the GFX with me, and basically this is exactly what happened. So we went to Vegas, and we might as well just cut straight into the first image that we've got and have a look at that and talk about it.
First shot, one of yours.
Exactly. So the first image was actually taken at about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. Bellagio Lake. I was running around like a headless chicken trying to find something that would test the dynamic range of it. And we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? I mean, the fact is that this shot here is a really good example of what the dynamic range on that Fuji was like. And it was one of those ones we first looked at on the first day and you went,
Absolutely. I mean, as you've said, I'm a Canon fan, and I've been using my 5DSR for a long time. But you brought the GFX, and I was thinking it was going to be interesting. You showed me that first shot, and I was actually kind of blown away by it. I thought, you know, looking at the results, looking at what you managed to pull out. I mean, when I saw the RAW and then I saw what you'd created from it, I was gobsmacked. The amount of detail that you managed to keep in the shadows and the amount that you managed to pull back into the highlights, despite the fact that you've got that really bright background, you're shooting directly into the sun. It was really impressive. I was really surprised.
Now, part of the trip was for me to learn actually how to use a camera. I'll admit I may run a camera hire company, but that doesn't mean to say I'm a professional photographer by any means of the imagination. So I was going to try and learn something from Dave along the way. Did I learn anything? Well, we'll find out. So we then set off from Vegas and we headed up to, where did we go next?
We next went to the Valley of Fire, actually. It was Valley of Fire was our first stop out of Vegas. Well, we picked up our car first, didn't we? We picked up our wonderful G-Wagon.
We did indeed,
and
yes.
then we went for a drive up to the Valley of Fire, which is the most, wasn't it? It was incredible, incredible rock formation.
Should we have a look at the first picture?
I think we should. I got really excited when we got there.
Absolutely amazing. It's the colours, wasn't it? It was the colours that were just incredible.
Rock formations, I mean, just incredible, just absolutely beautiful. You know, the reds and the striations in there, the geology of that location is absolutely incredible.
So this is actually my image, isn't it?
This is one of yours, yeah. Look at the shape of it's kind of the giveaway there, guys.
It is indeed, it is indeed. So this was my first lesson, trying to make sure that I actually caught the right moments with a little bit of flare from the sun.
A little bit of the sun with the starburst. Can you remember how you got the starburst?
Yeah, I think you need to remind me.
Oh, you closed down the aperture, Guy.
That's the one.
There you go. That was your tip for getting a starburst. But again, you were shooting into the light, and the amount of detail you managed to hold in the shadows, and okay, if you look at the highlights behind the sun, it's a bit blown.
Yeah.
It's not desperate. You know, we had some filters as well, so you were using some filtration. But it came out really quite nicely.
It did indeed. Should we have a look at the next one?
I think we should.
So, next up on the list is going to be, I think that's that's my one again.
Yours.
Well, they're mostly mine.
They're mostly yours.
Yeah, a bit past.
You organised them.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is round the other side of the mound, as it were. And the reason I like this was all the contrast of all the colours in it. And again, what you don't see from this final image here, the processed image, was the variation in the light and the dark again, do you?
Absolutely. I mean, this corner that you can see, like the dark shadowed corner, that's really quite dark, whereas the rocks over on the background were really bright. You had an awful lot of light on them because they were still in full sun, whereas we had all of this dark shadow, and you've got so much dynamic range in there, so much detail through the shadows out into the highlights. The camera has handled it really, really well.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one, if we can. and have a look at that. I think we're now on to yours, aren't we?
Is that one of mine? That looks a bit like one of mine.
It does
like
indeed.
It's showing a little bit dark there, but yes. I mean, in terms of, if you look at the detail, it's again, we've got detail through the shadows. We've got a bit of blown highlight. You can see quite how contrasty that was when you're shooting straight into the sun. My 5DSR, as much as I don't think it handled the dynamic range quite as well as GFX. I think there wasn't a lot in it.
But we were talking about this earlier, that, you know, obviously you're a professional photographer and you shoot with the kit and you use it to the best of your ability to get the result that you want. That doesn't necessarily mean that the camera is the best for any particular purpose. It means that you're using it to its best ability. Yes. I think we need to sort of separate those. I'm a bit of an idiot. I haven't got the talent, and so to be honest, the camera bailed me out quite a few times. But the fact is that, you know, you can't ignore what results actually someone who does have that ability like yourself would be able to pull out of it in certain
No, absolutely. I think this was one of the conclusions we came to, was that the GFX was actually very good. If you didn't really know what you were doing, you needed a bit of a help, it had that ability to help you get a better image, whereas my particular way of shooting is that I try and get it as right as I can in camera, but also I understand the camera and what it can and can't do. So I'll probably sometimes not shoot something if I know that it's going to be beyond what the camera can cope with. Whereas for you with the GFX, as you say, it helped you out a few times. It bailed you out. You got images in places where I wouldn't necessarily have thought to go and shoot.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's keep going, because I think otherwise I know we're going to run out of time. We've got quite a few to show, so let's keep going through. So if we go to the next image on there, we're now at Mesquite Sands. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mesquite Sands. This was my first trip there. Actually, I'd driven past there I think 2 years previously when I was going to NAB, and I went down to Death Valley for a couple of days. But I'd never experienced actually walking through Mesquite Sands, and it was one of those decisions that Dave made, which was absolutely spot on. What we never could have predicted was just how much wind there was going to be. Now, there was a huge advantage to that, and if we look at this first image, you'll see what that advantage was. What was it, Dave? Well,
it was just causing, the sand at Mesquite Dunes is really soft. It's really lightweight, it's really flyaway, and as you look at the ridge of sand here, you can see where it's just being blown off the top of the ridge. It's creating an extra dimension to it. You've got all the lovely ridges of the sand, and then you've got the mountains in the background and the sky, but just having that little extra bit, just the sand being whipped off the top, really helped add to the drama, added to the location. It just made the pictures that.
And I think the other thing to mention here is that, you know, you were trying to experiment, because I was shooting what we might call conventional landscapes. You decided you were going to do something different this time.
Absolutely.
Which is the reason for the black and whites, and it's the reason for a few of them we'll see which are more zoomed in than you would usually do, slightly more abstract things than you would normally do.
Well, obviously I'd been to Death Valley back earlier in the year. I'd spent, in fact, the first 5 days of the year, over New Year, in Death Valley, and I'd been to the Mesquite Dunes, so I knew the location a little bit. And I'd shot a lot of wides, and I'd shot in probably more of my normal style, and this time, as Guy says, I wanted to do something a little bit different, to find some different angles, and to try and get something, as you say, a little bit more abstract.
Okay, so this is a perfect example. I really love this. It's one of my favourites of all of yours. I just think
something exciting about this one, actually.
Well,
to add a little bit of validity to this, we weren't just going around taking pictures, testing kit. Actually, 2 of the pictures from the Mesquite Dunes I entered into a competition. It's the Photo X competition, and 2 of them have been shortlisted down to the last 35.
The ones that you shot.
They were the ones that I shot, not the ones that you shot. Yes, absolutely.
Just checking.
Yeah. So,
okay, so let's just move on to the next ones as well, if we can. So this is from the GFX, as you can see by the aspect ratio, and yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I mean, the landscape was pretty...
The landscape's stunning. I love the tones that the GFX picked up in the foreground here. I think that, I mean, you got some really lovely angles there. You say I was supposed to be teaching you, but you came away with some really lovely shots. That
I was a bit lucky with the landscape. But the one, and with the camera, to be fair, because, I mean, it did let you get away with a certain amount of idiot operation like me. The thing that I found incredible about it was actually that I could pretty much leave it to get on with it. I didn't have to worry about things with the camera. The one thing that we haven't really mentioned is that when it comes to actually using those cameras in those kind of conditions, what you don't want to be worrying about is being not too precious, but you don't want to worry about the thing falling apart and when it's exposed to a little bit of the conditions there. And I think the one thing that we really were surprised about, thank goodness that they were okay, was first of all the GFX and also the GH5 in terms of their resilience with that sand, because that was really nasty fine sand.
Well, it was such fine sand, it just got into everything. I mean, do you remember that night, or was it the next morning, we had to go and clean all our filters because there was sand everywhere, and it's really sticky sand as well. Although it's very fine and dry, it just seems to cling to everything, almost like static cling. And I think, you know, I shoot with Canon, obviously, and we know that if you buy a Canon camera, particularly you buy one of the high-end cameras, 5D, 1D, you know that they're going to be durable. You know that they're very well sealed, and you don't have to worry about what they're going to be like. But then you had your GFX. Where's your GFX gone hiding?
Yeah.
You've got it right there.
We've got it here.
GFX.
This is the GFX here.
And it held up admirably, didn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing, actually. It really was truly amazing. I thought I was in trouble with Fuji, to be brutally honest. I thought that we might have a slightly soiled camera, but no, we cleaned everything off, toothbrush cleaning. Yeah, toothbrush cleaning, a little bit of water, and amazingly enough, everything came up absolutely fine. I mean, it really did. And that was the point at which I really went, wow, because I wasn't expecting it to be able to behave outdoors in that kind of way, because, you know, that's not normally what a medium format camera can do.
No, you think of it as you know, some kind of studio camera, really.
Yeah.
But actually,
but we've proved for landscapes, you know, it really is quite a weapon, and it was just a shame we didn't have the 23mm, which. Yeah, and this was another thing that we found was obviously I did have a bit of a frustration, I suppose, to be honest, with the fact that I didn't have as many lenses as Dave. I wasn't able to go as wide as him. I didn't have a tilt and shift, and I wasn't able to zoom in as much as he could with his cameras. But look, I mean, the reality is this camera has not been out very long, has it? And the fact is that more lenses are going to appear for it, and so it's like with everything that starts. We had it, you know, with E-mount. We've had it with, you know, the Fuji X mount as well. And now they've got a full range of them. So I know it's only a matter of time before more lenses, the 23mm come out, the 120, 110, we got the 32-64, and then there's the 63mm prime. So they're coming, and I know that Fuji will be releasing more as we go along. But yes, it was a bit of a frustration, and I wished that I could have had the flexibility you had. But again, that's the whole thing, isn't it? We're talking about new format here against established format. And so, you know, whatever your feelings are on that particular Canon camera, you can't forget the fact that there is a huge range of lenses. And also,
it's one of the biggest systems going, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got, in the Canon system now, somewhere over 80 lenses. You know, there is a lens for everything. And as we talked about, where's it gone? One of my favourite landscape lenses is this, and Guy kind of mentioned tilt and shift just now, something he didn't have on the GFX, but I shoot almost all of my landscapes on a tilt shift, 24 or 17, because it gives me a different look, it gives me a different perspective on things. And that's something that if they add that to the GFX, that's going to just open up a whole new realm of opportunity.
Okay, right, we need to move forward onto Mono Lake.
We do.
Katie is behind here at the moment, telling me that I need to move on to Mono Lake rapidly, otherwise we're going to run out of time. She's there telling me. So we're going to have a look at the Mono Lake pictures. So this is the first one, which is mine.
It is.
Now, it may be because studio lights are here quite bright, but on the one that I used, you can see the detail. And this was another blimey moment, because your eyes, you couldn't see this detail. No. We couldn't see this at all. It was one of those moments where, you know, to be honest, you just feel blessed to be privileged to being there. I mean, it was just incredible. The sunrise was just a complete gift from God, quite frankly. And I'd say even I couldn't get it wrong. But the thing that you can't really, well, I can't really see there, but when you look at the full-size image, is all of that detail in the shadows is there. And it's not
what
noisy.
Are those things? What are those shadows, incidentally? What are those areas called? Come on. Honestly, Guy, they're toofers.
I still call them tofus.
Honestly. Yeah. So those toofers, you're right. In real life, your eyes couldn't pick up the detail, but the camera just seemed to drag it out.
Yeah, no, it did. It was massively impressive. And I think that, You know, again, this is another situation whereby, you know, Dave as the professional will shoot exactly to what his camera is capable of. Me as the non-professional was able to just press the button, and to be fair, the GFX took care of a lot of it for me. And imagine what it could do with someone that actually knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So let's move forwards again, if we can, and have a look at the next shot. So this is a Newton original. That's
one of mine, that is. That's one of my favourite pictures from that morning, actually. You see that this is actually just after the sun's come up. I turned around, shot the other way, looked for a bit of foreground interest. In an ideal world, I'd have got just a little bit higher, but I was on the maximum extent of my tripod. Tripods we're going to talk about in a little bit. Yes, we are. Waited for the sun to come up. It's just kissed the top of the mountains. That's the Sierra Nevada range. Just kissed the top of it, lit up the tufas down in the mid-ground, and still kept that lovely reflection.
And I took one just a tiny bit earlier than that, which I think we're seeing next. Which again, I mean, well, we can actually, funny enough,
it's behind you.
It's behind
me. Not that one. You're ahead.
It's there, literally there. So we can actually see the comparisons between Dave's. There it is. We've got it there. So again, David hogged the really nice spot to try and take an image. So I then had to move even further out onto the TIFAs to try and get this one. And we'll talk about the tripod in a bit, but this is where the tripod really comes into its own, because I was perched right on the edge of the water to try and get this shot. And again, I mean, it was the colours. I mean, they're just incredible.
The colours were beautiful. Something that was interesting, and I don't know whether it's in the processing or whether it's the cameras, it would be interesting to do a little look. But your images, Guy, particularly look just a little bit bluer than mine. Yours have a slightly cooler feel to them. And it could be the way that you've processed them. I think it possibly might be.
Lack of knowledge, I suspect, more than anything else. So let's move forward again. We then went over Yosemite, which was one of those frustrating drives for Dave. It was a very long drive. It was 375 miles, I think, in the end. And
ironic, really, because we only had 37 miles to go as the crow flies if we'd gone straight over the Sierra Nevadas.
I know. I looked at it on the map afterwards and thought, God, we went a long way. But unfortunately, frustratingly for Dave, it did actually mean that we could not stop for photos, more photos and more photos after that. So we had to just get there.
One of the most spectacular drives in the world. The scenery was absolutely jaw-dropping.
It was
just out of this world.
I mean, we were lucky enough to capture some of it on GoPro. We used GoPro quite a lot of the time, and we were able to capture it, which you can see in the videos as well. So let's have a look at some of the ones from Yosemite, and we can talk through those. So this was actually at the end of it all. This was up on Inspiration Point. Now, Inspiration Point, if you ever go to Yosemite and you go to the tunnel view, which is up the top before the tunnel, which is why it's called tunnel view, which is
conveniently named, right?
If you go up the top of there, you will find at the car park, you'll find a little sign, and on the top of the sign it says Inspiration Point 1.3 miles. It is 1.3 miles. What they don't tell you is it's pretty much 1.3 miles straight up. And it's not a path, it is basically full of rocks and full of everything else. So
if you pull back from the wide, actually, you'll see that Guy is maybe not the trimmest, right?
I'm trimmer than I was before I went up the hill.
Absolutely, you may have lost some on the way up. It was a pretty hard slog, wasn't it?
It was a hard slog, but I mean, the reality is that, well, first of all, it was my suggestion, so I couldn't moan about it. Nope. And when we got up there, the fact was that the view was just simply jaw-dropping. It took us a little while to find the vantage point, but the view from that point was this shot here, and it was quite incredible.
So this is actually after the sun's gone down. Guy, because we've gone up there and it was a bit of a hike, Guy had said to me, "Oh, we're not waiting till the sun's gone because it's going to be dark, and I don't want to be walking down here in the dark." And we had torches; it was all fine. But Guy got a little bit, windbaggish about it, and he's going to hit me in a minute. And we waited and we waited, and after the sun's gone is when so much actually happens. We got this beautiful alpenglow up on the mountains. It was absolutely glorious, and the pink started to come out, and the colour really started to come out in the sky. And you've got El Cap.
Yeah,
El Cap Guy. El Capitan off to the left, which actually, for anyone that's interested in climbing, you may have seen Alex Honnold has just climbed it free.
Crazy, man.
What a loon. I mean, incredible. Anyway, I digress. And then over on the right-hand side, you've got Half Dome. This is actually one of mine. Mm-hmm. So you've got Bridal Veil Falls down on the front right. Kind of middle left there is Half Dome, and far left is El Capitan. It's kind of the major things of Yosemite Valley. And just again, it was a pleasure to be there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's the sheer scale of the place that you just can't get over until you actually sat there. And then you just start to really, well, you try and take it in. I mean, everything's just bigger. The trees are bigger. I mean, it's huge. It's quite an incredible place. So let's move forward again. I'm very conscious of the time here. So let's have a look at the next shot. And we did have some other black and white shots, I know. All right, there we go. So Bridal Falls. Now this was shot with?
This was shot with, no, this is 5DSR.
But this was on 70-200.
70-200,
yeah.
yes. So
Bridal
this
Falls was a long way away.
It was. This was the morning. When we went down to the morning view, we were hoping for a great sunrise. We didn't get the best sunrise in the world. It was all kind of covered and cloudy, but it made for some really nice black and white because it brought out a lot of the texture and the detail over there.
Okay, so speaking about black and white, there was another camera we used as well.
We did.
At which you shot quite a lot of black and whites on as well, the M5.
Yes, the M5. So I'm going to reach back here. This was something I did quite a lot of shooting on. So actually the image you're looking at now, the image you were looking at just then, was shot on an M5 with a 70-200. And a couple of people actually since have said to me, why did you not just shoot on the 5DSR and crop? Well, very much I like to get it in camera. I don't want to crop afterwards. So I use this because the smaller sensor gave me the extra reach. Now, one of the things that we talked about this camera, I mean, you were blown away by what it was able to produce, right?
Yeah, stunned. Stunned. I mean, there's a perfect image, you know, that you shot at Mesquite Sand Dunes. I mean, you know, if someone had shown that to, you know, you would have said, well, that was 5DSR.
Yeah, you know, something more common, so to speak. Even
when you looked, you know, close in on it, it still looked good. And this is what I was saying to you earlier, you know, the fact is that people love the 80D. I think it's a cracking SLR.
Yes,
well,
they do. That is an 80D, just in a body that's half the size. I mean, what's not to love about it?
Exactly. So, you know, the M5, I think, was a surprise for us. This is your shot at Mono Lake.
Yeah, so this was Mono Lake. After we'd done that Mono Lake, the reflections and the sunrise.
You made yourself a new friend.
I did.
They were so tame, it was
black-tailed jackrabbit. So this one, the hilarious story behind this was I was creeping ever closer to one that was on the floor, and I was getting closer and closer and closer, trying to be really stealthy and quiet so it didn't run away. And all of a sudden it started twitching its nose at me, and I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And that one actually just hopped in front of me and stood right there looking at me, wondering what the hell was going on. So yeah, made a new friend and got an image. And again, that was an M5 picture, just with 70-200 on it. So,
images, all very well when they're sitting there on your camera, great when you start to look at them on a screen.
Yep.
But what do you do with them then? And I think this brings us to the printing. You know, we need to have a chat about the printing.
So many people do not print their pictures. I think, you know, how many of you, honestly, watching now, actually bother to print your pictures? And if you print A4, A3, A2. If you're going to shoot with 50 megapixels like we were, you may as well make some decent big prints, right? You may as well use all of that resolution you've got to get something out of it. Actually have something tangible that you can see. And Guy, if I pass you yours.
Why, thank you.
Hold.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll do the glamour shot here.
There you go. Perfect. Look at that. You don't have to look at us anymore. You can just look at some pictures. Pretty pictures.
And it's not actually, again, you're not going to see this on screen. You're not going to see this on Tinterweb as it is. But when you look at these in, you know, in their actual form close up, the detail, I can see all of the trees all the way along the hillside there. You can almost
see the line that Alex Honnold climbed up El Capitan. Right?
It's
amazing.
Bonkers. And you know, the quality in there, you know, the road. We're talking about 50 megapixel cameras, and this is where we both agree that actually the similarities between them is enormous in terms of the actual resolution, which it should be.
The detail,
you know, the detail that they have is unbelievable. It's not until you get to this kind of size that you realise, boy,
absolutely
incredible.
Absolutely.
But it's also down to the quality of the printing, isn't it?
Yes. So these
we went
somewhere very high-end printers for this. We went to Genesis Imaging, and they are a really top-end print lab. They use, in this case, this is Fuji Crystal archive paper, I think. Really, really high-end printing. We learnt all about that. There's a video, or there will be a video online to tell you all about the process that we went through. And that's where you can get, I mean, this printing is not an inkjet print. This is somewhere a bit like traditional photography. Okay, so it's like almost like a silver halide print. It's actually a wet process. We learnt all about it.
It's just like old-fashioned developing, but just with a new twist.
With a new twist, absolutely.
So
and the results are spectacular.
We're going to be doing these for all of our trips. We're going to be building up a whole gallery of these, which we're going to try and arrange at the end of our series, so everybody can come and have a look at them.
Absolutely. An exhibition.
And thank you to Genesis and to Fujifilm for their support with getting these done, because we're going to be doing them every single time. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to move to the video side of things. We're going to move to the good old GH5.
This. There you go.
Now, this GH5, I have to say that we hard out GH4s a lot. We still do, in fact. I'm not a big fan of the menus, but I have to say, which kind of put me off the GH4 a bit. GH5, I took because we wanted something that was sturdy, that could try and record everything. We wanted to test how idiot-proof it was. So I wanted to make sure that it was good enough for me to be able to use. What would it be like in automatic mode? How would we get on with it? So we shot with it, apart from once, which was early in the morning at Yosemite. We shot solely in automatic modes with autofocus on, face detection. It was quite incredible. Now, the only time that we had any issues at all in terms of hunting focus was when we were at Mono Lake. But you're looking at this now, you have to bear in mind, it was absolutely pitch black.
It was really, really dark. I mean, that was where we were saying you couldn't see the detail in the toothers on the other side until you started doing 30-second exposures. It was a very dark environment, and the camera did remarkably well. What actually surprised me more about it, I mean, I thought the performance was good, the image quality was really good, but when we got into the Mesquite Dunes, Guy, with all the sand, got very, very worked up. There was sand all over it, and he was like, no, I'm going to ruin a camera, and I hate sand, and oh, really annoying. Performed faultlessly, didn't it?
Yeah, it all came out. It really did genuinely all come out. And, this is one of my cameras. This wasn't actually Panasonic's, and this was, in fact, actually the exact camera. And, it's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I have to say, I think the camera performed faultlessly. People who complain about low light on it, do you know what? We shot in dark conditions with it. It didn't come up with huge amounts of noise at 6400.
What was the ISO you had when you did your opening filming when we were in the hotel? You were in the hotel room in Vegas. You said
that was 6400.
6400, and it was clean.
Yeah, it was.
Really,
and
really
that was shot. I wanted to see what it was like. We shot that 8-bit HD. Wasn't 10-bit. That was shot on 8-bit HD in MOV format. I wanted to just use it in its simplest form because I felt that at least if you could see it in that and you're impressed with it, then you could actually see what you could really do with it. I have to say, we've now got 7 or 8 of these now, and we're still buying them. And I'm really not surprised that they're performing so well. It's a cracking camera. Really, really impressive. Very impressive. So now we need to... Sorry?
I was going to say I would agree. I thought the results were great.
And you're a Canon man.
And I'm a Canon man.
God, dear me. So, accessories we used.
Accessories we used.
So, Gitzo tripod. Let's have a quick chat about the Gitzos, because the reason we chose the Gitzos was because Dave has got a Gitzo. He absolutely loves them. And when I said to him, if I can have any tripod to take with me, what would you take? Gitzo.
Gitzo, absolutely. Now, if you're going to shoot landscapes, as you discovered, a tripod is pretty essential, right? And one of the very best things about the Gitzo, I mean, apart from the fact that they're lovely carbon fiber, they're lightweight, they're very, very sturdy. These new Gitzo systematics have got these very cool feet on them. Now, I know some people and crazy people have said they don't like these feet, but when you're working, particularly, for example, on the tufas, where you've got a lot of rocks that are off angle, just being able to angle the feet.
They were brilliant.
Make sure that you've got a really good contact patch.
Yeah.
Just gives you that little bit of extra stability.
No, they were superb.
Worked really nicely. I mean, the other thing about the systematic, obviously, is you can screw these off. You can put snow spikes on there. You can put snowshoes on there. They're really, really versatile.
And I love the variable resistance, whatchamacallit.
You did. The variable...
It's my technical term.
So technical. So we also have the Gitzo ball head. Now, this is the biggest one. And here is its ordinary lock, and then this is the variable resistance, whatchamacallit, as Guy terms it. And we've also got a pan lock. But the great thing about this is that a lot of people won't shoot landscapes on a ball head. They'll prefer to use a 3-way pan and tilt or a geared head. I shoot all of my landscapes on a ball head, but if you use the friction properly, you can set it just so you can move it, let go, and the camera stays right where it is, and then it's just a little quarter turn to lock it so that it absolutely doesn't move. And it makes life very simple. Particularly, I mean, we're going to be doing some other shoots. The reason I use the ball head is their versatility. Okay, I don't just shoot landscape, so I can move between doing a landscape, doing sports, doing commercial, whatever it might be, and I've just got one head that I need to worry about, and this is, I mean, it's 700 grams, the head. It's a little bit heavy.
Yeah, but the legs are light
so
as
good.
well.
The legs are light.
You know, you've got the carbon fibre legs on it, and they're nice. So that wasn't the only Gitzo thing we used, was it?
No,
we
it
used
was
the
not.
pole, your beloved pole with its
Let me get
motorcycle.
Look at this, Ducati hand grips. Look at this.
That's the little
lovely carbon fibre pole. So this actually, I think, as we said in the video, this is a microphone boom. Okay, that's what they designed it as. So it's got the cutouts for running your cable in and then out the other end for your XLR cable.
We thought we'd use it for other purposes.
We did. So you stuck a Manfrotto ball head on top, didn't we? And then we put GoPros on the top, and we drove along with this sticking out of the sunroof to give just a different look. And I think we've got a little bit of VT that we might be able to see here. So here you go. I thought this was going to be you holding it out. It's not, but because we can see your head there.
Yes, exactly. So that was actually you doing it.
Yeah. So just driving along, this is holding a pole out of the window to get just a really different angle. And if you're doing a road trip, that kind of angle is really interesting.
I'm sure it must have proved most amusing to the people behind us. What the hell are they
doing?
The
people come towards us, people's like this.
It was absolutely brilliant. And, it was all about us trying to get lots of different angles as we went along, because we knew we weren't going to be able to stop to take photos the whole way. And a lot of the trip...
tell the story of a road trip as well.
Exactly. The whole thing was trying to tell the road trip the whole way through. We would have used the drone more than we could, unfortunately. In the parks, you can't use it. It's illegal to use it. But we did get a chance to have a little bit of a play with it.
But had a little bit of
it was a bit frustrating because some of the scenery would have been amazing for it. But that, unfortunately, is life. So in terms of other bits and pieces that we also had one of these. Excuse me, I shall just grab it here. So I took with me the Wine Country camera filter holder with me. And one thing I do really like is this circular polarizer in it, which you can see there. I think it's a great idea. Yes. It's very, very nice, and it made life very easy for me as a beginner. There's one less thing for me to worry about.
I think we should explain that, if you're going to shoot landscapes, right, then filters are pretty much essential. Yes, you can do a lot in post. You can create the equivalent of ND grads, but you can't recreate a polarizer for sure, and you can't recreate a full ND to give you a long exposure. So filters are really, really important. And we were using Lee filters. I've been using Lee filters for years, and I wouldn't use anything else because they're brilliant. But this new holder, what you can see, what Guy's showing you here, is that normally a filter you can hold and you're going to get your fingers all over the edge of it, whereas the Wine Country camera holder has got an edge to it. So you've got somewhere that you can put your fingers without actually touching the filter. It just helps keep the filter that little bit cleaner, keeps it protected.
And it was a genius idea. I mean, it is a genius idea, there's no question about it. And, I think we came away from using this, also I did an awful lot, with some good and bad points. There is an issue that we know that, Rod is now looking at in terms of just holding the filter ring in place. But other than that, as a beginner, I just felt nice, it felt solid. Yes, I dropped it a few times and it still looks pretty good. Yep. There's a lot of clever features to it. And I think that going forwards, this will just get better and better and better.
I mean, it was part of the trip, right? We were testing stuff in the real world, and this was something where we actually came away having found a couple of minor issues that we've told the manufacturer and they're going to go away and address. Yeah. So again, it gives it a validity. It's real world, right? Was this perfect? No. Was it very good? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reality is not everything in life is perfect. And what I like is the fact that, as an organisation, they are very keen to listen to any feedback, and you can see the love and care that's gone into it, and that's what I like about it. So
lovely engineering.
It is. It's absolutely beautiful. So we can put that away, and then we need to talk about possibly, I think, for us, the favourite thing in the trip. It's got to be close to it, hasn't it?
Doesn't it? I think, we took an awful lot of kit with us. And interestingly, Guy and I were discussing what our favourite kit was, what we thought was the best thing. And, Guy loved the GFX. I obviously loved my 5DSR. We both loved the M5, and the pole was brilliant. But the real standout winner for us was rig wheels. So this is our big rig wheels plate. I mean, who'd have thought that basically a cheese plate and 4 magnets could be so life-changing?
Yeah, Yeah, very definitely. And unfortunately today, because they're all out on hire, we couldn't actually have the small one available, which is there's one with a single one. I'm just going to take one of these off, if you excuse me a moment.
Much quicker for you.
Thank you. Yeah, you've only got one hand. We'll explain that later. So basically, this is a magnet. It's not just a simple magnet. It's a magnet with a coating on it, and it's a very clever balance between having a thick enough coating on it so we never put any marks on the vehicle, and it's very, very solid. It doesn't slide, but it's still, actually, it's quite hard to take them off with just this. You need a little bit of a counterbalance there to actually pull it off.
I think we might have a little
and we have got a bit of footage
bit of
from the G-Wagon here, and it is it's quite hard to pull off. We were very lucky with the G-Wagon because it's built of basically pig iron, and so basically everywhere on the vehicle we could stick it. Now a lot of cars have aluminium bodies or bonnets and GRP, that kind of thing. No, not our good old G-Wagon. We could stick these everywhere.
Like a bank vault.
And the interesting thing was that we lost the Wi-Fi connection with the GoPro quite a few times actually, and we didn't have to worry because we knew that it was just the wireless connection that had gone, and it wasn't actually the fact that they'd fallen off. Not once did they shift in any way. Being able to put them wherever we wanted, being able to mount the GoPros on them.
It opened up so many possible angles, and rather than trying to clamp stuff in various places or deal around with suction cups, which just takes time, literally I'd lean out the sunroof and pop, okay, that's a new angle. Oh, out the window, bang, there's another angle. Oh, run around the back, stick it on the back bar, done, another angle. It made life so much simpler to just get a whole variety of different shots, which, as we said, when you're telling a road trip story, the variety of shots is what you need to try and convey everything that's going on.
Very much, and it wasn't just using the single one. Here we've got some footage showing actually with this plate, with a Titan arm.
Yes.
Oh, which is cracking.
Orange Titan arm. You love that.
Really good, yeah. Bright Tangerine do some really, really nice stuff. Beautifully engineered.
It was really nice. It was beautifully
solid.
Engineered. Lovely bit of material. And we mounted, as you could see here it is, we mounted the GH5 and we also mounted the M5 on there too. So it was incredibly solid. I mean, basically, this big plate obviously got 4 of these magnet blocks, and in point of fact, thanks very much, in point of fact, it's not a single magnet, there's actually 6.
Yes.
There are 6 magnets in each plate, and, oh, not in there, and it was incredibly solid. It really, really held on very tightly, even with that.
You're having problems there?
I'm having. Honestly, you've been waiting for that, haven't you?
I have.
You've been waiting for that.
Yeah.
Even when you've got that, even when you've got like a reasonable sized camera on there with a decent lens and a matte box, it wasn't moving. I think the first time we used it, I put on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're now seeing some of the stills images as well.
We are. So this is M5 actually. So this is just stuck on the side of the door, M5 with a 10 to 18mm lens on the lens adapter to give a nice wide angle, driving through Yosemite, just giving that very different look, very different view.
So rig wheels, definitely big score.
Absolutely, and you've got them in. Well, you don't because they're out.
Yeah, well, they are out.
They're always out apart from this one.
Yeah.
You held this one back, didn't you?
Yeah, I did indeed. I did indeed. I haven't put it on the site yet because I knew otherwise we wouldn't probably have one to show. So we then, what else have we got to show?
What else have we got to show?
I think that's it. So we're now on to the news.
The news?
Yes.
Are you sure we've got nothing else to show?
We've got one more thing to show. I'm sorry. Yes, you're quite right. We have one more thing to show, and that is here. This is my Mindshift bag that was organised by lovely Helen at Snapper Stuff for me, which I went out with. Now, Dave is used to basically travelling around the place with all his kit, and so he is well versed at having his backpack. Me? No, I have a backpack, but it's not a very good one. It's certainly not good enough to store bits and pieces in, and so I needed to go and buy another one, and so I went and saw Helen at Snapper Stuff at the photography show, and she very kindly suggested this, and actually it worked brilliantly. The reason it works so well is because I put all my GFX kit in the top of here, and that just worked perfectly. I could just pull it out at any point I wanted. And then if we just turn around, sorry about that, Josh, we basically, at the bottom of here, if I pull this out, we have another pouch, my little kangaroo pouch.
Yep, and this was your,
and that's where
your GH5 kit.
GH5 lived. And actually, do you know what, that's worked so well, we should just use that going forward. So main camera up the top there, GH5 can live down the bottom in here. Also really good was having a water pouch in it.
Yes, so you had a
So it's
water
got
bladder,
a water
didn't you?
bladder at the side
Aren't
of
you
it.
glad that I made you buy that water bladder now?
Yeah, that's it. Dave is Captain Outdoors. I am not Captain Outdoors. And
We went to the outdoor shop in Vegas when we got there, and I made sure Guy was fully kitted up. He came away from the till going, why have I spent all this money on stuff that I don't need?
So I could then sleep in the car.
Yeah, well. But I think the water bladder you were kind of happy about, weren't you?
Exactly. It was a good trip. And I think we just need to just point out that that isn't the only trip by a long way. And I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that said that they've actually really enjoyed it. Where we want to go with these trips is we want to make sure that they're fun, they're entertaining, they actually provide some information. It's not all about techie stuff, it's actually about just enjoying taking some shots and trying the different cameras, different accessories, and seeing what we can get out of them. And we've got a few planned coming forwards.
We have two, I think.
Yep.
Two planned now. One of which is just for you to, well, really for Guy to irritate me. Those of you watching obviously may have noticed this. I didn't have this when I was in the US. Guy, do you want to tell everyone about this?
Well,
You've been dying to, I know.
This is what happens when you juggle knives. It's going to happen eventually.
This is what happens.
And it's great because it's provided much entertainment for all of us.
It has, hasn't it? So yes, I turned up yesterday. In fact, this time yesterday I was just coming out of general anaesthetic from a little operation to repair a tendon that I've managed to cut with a knife. So I can't shoot for a little bit, a few weeks. So Guy wants to take full advantage of this, and we're going to go off and shoot some stuff, and I'm just going to have to tell him what to do, and we'll see how good a student he is. We'll see what kind of pictures he gets and how much he listens.
So now on to the news. You probably would have to been on another planet not to realise that we've had the Canon C200 and the Panasonic EVA1, or EVA as we call it, announced in the last couple of weeks. And, you know, let's be honest, there's been an awful lot of traffic going backwards and forwards, everybody discussing them. And I think, you know, we had a long chat about it before we went live on air. And, you know, the reality is that they've only really just been announced. No one's really got their hands on anything, and so it has to be a bit of hearsay as to what specs and what people have seen so far.
Well, we've seen with the Panasonic, for example, it feels like they rushed that announcement. Very much like they rushed that announcement, because when you ask them any specs, they don't have anything at the moment. It's all, oh no, we'll let you know, we'll let you know. Well, okay, that's great. So we know at some point there's going to be an interesting camera.
I think it's going to be an amazing camera. I really do. You know, I mean, the GH5 has shown what they can produce. The 400 megabits codec is a cracking codec. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it. I think the one thing that we were talking about, which will be interesting to see on the EVA, is going to be the autofocus, because that has got to be the killer feature with this.
Yeah,
I
mean, this is a known quantity, right? Through the Canon range, you've got the C100, you've got C300, you've got C700, which you can see sitting up behind us up here. This is going to fit very nicely between there. I suspect it might cannibalise some C300 sales, if I'm completely honest. But I think it's going to be a big seller, because we know that some of the features on it are going to be spectacular. Canon's autofocus is really, really good. The dual pixel AF is fantastic.
We do need to mention the elephant in the room. That is, I'm sorry, but
far away.
You know, there is a hole at the moment in terms of you've got the 4K raw light at the top.
Yep.
And
you've got some 1080.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom.
150 megabits a second.
Yep.
8-bit.
What's in the middle ground?
Yeah. Well, this is it, and we know that they've announced this firmware update for next year. But you know, my question is could they not produce 2K raw?
Yeah.
Light as well.
Logical.
You know, it seems a logical thing to do. I mean, the good news is that actually, by everybody announcing everything early, it gives everybody time to actually do something about it. You know, Canon do have a chance, if they want to, of trying to address it. Whether they will or not, I understand, you know, speaking to them, that it's not just about our markets, it's about global markets, and so different markets want different things, and so it may happen, it may not happen. You know, there's no doubt that the EVA and this are going to be great sellers. You know, it's very simple, and we'll be stocking both of them anyway.
I mean, I'm very much, I've had a little play with one, I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on one. I've got hopefully a shoot coming up soon where I'll be having hands on a C200, and I mean, it really is, it fits a certain market. I think this is going to be great for the run and gun news documentary. Really nice for the solo shooter, the wedding shooter, that kind of thing. And I think maybe the EVA is possibly going to suit a different market.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see the cameras actually sit quite well together in their different segments.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think they're going to affect each other too much.
So if you wanted to hire one of these out and you were based in London, what would you do?
You would go onto the Hire a Camera website, and then you would actually come here to Cherry Duck, because Cherry Duck Studios is your new London click and collect base, is it not?
It is indeed, it is indeed. And I think, first of all, I would just like to say a big thank you to Cherry Duck. It's been an absolute pleasure working with them so far. They are a great bunch of people, and I think it's very important to note that we're not just here for you to click and collect. They have a massive range of services here. They have the most glorious studios, of which we are in one of them at the moment, and a wide range of services. They can do pre-production, post-production, you name it, they can do it. And so it was a perfect partner for us to join with them, and so the idea being that some of our regular customers could possibly benefit from their services as well. And yes, so if you do want to hire anything, we will deliver it to Cherry Duck here, and it's completely free of charge.
No courier fees.
No courier fees whatsoever.
Courier fees.
So I think we're just about there, to be honest. How do you think it's gone?
I think we're just about, I think we've got one more thing to say, because we didn't talk about our second trip that we've got coming up.
That's true.
We did not. So we have another trip. We told you about Guy trying to frustrate me, but we didn't tell you about the other trip that we have at the end of July that we've just organised. So Guy and I are going on our next road trip. We're going to head to Finland, and we're going to photograph the Neste Finish Rally. And in true Hire a Camera style, we are going to be taking a variety of different cameras. So I'll be taking a 1DX Mark II. Guy will be bringing along the new Sony A9. We'll be seeing how those two compare. And we're also going to bring the M5 along. And what was the other thing you wanted to bring, Guy?
XT2.
You want to bring an XT2. So we're going to be trying to put M5 against XT2, 1DX2 against A9. We're going to see how it performs in real life, in the real world, in a fast, high-paced, actiony environment.
Yeah, very much so. We're going to take the young upstarts and we're going to take them along, and we're going to see how they perform against the established player. And again, we're going to use them in the real world. It's not going to be just sitting there, just basically playing with them side by side, just in a controlled environment. This is going to be using them solidly, traveling with them day in, day out, getting them in and out of the bags. It may be piddling down the rain. We have no idea what it's
we don't know what we're going to get, do we?
We're going to have low light because we're going to have night stages as
night
well.
Stages.
So it's going to be really interesting, and you know we'll be back to talk about all of our adventures.
We will. Guy will be using his cameras on full auto, as usual.
Yeah, well, you never know.
We might get you to manual one day. And yeah, we'll come and tell you all about it once we're done. Tell you how the cameras got on. You'll see some more prints behind us, made by Genesis.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. And on that, what I should say is if you have any ideas, if you have any cameras that you would like to see us test, if you have any shoot ideas that you would like to see us do, just let us know. Tell us what to do. Tell us what you'd like to learn or see tested.
And additionally, if you have any items that you would like us to cover, we've got ideas for looking at some old kit, talking through that. We're going to be doing some interviews with some people in the industry as well to find a bit more about what they do, some tips that they can give us. So any ideas you have for this broadcast, that would be great, because we aim to do it on a regular basis.
We do. We should actually, there is one more thing we should mention as well. Courses.
Yes, indeed, yes. Sorry, I should have mentioned when we were talking about Cherry Duck, we are also going to be launching workshops here. Finally, we'll be able to give our customers the chance to actually get their hands on gear and also learn a little bit more about it. So we're going to be getting people along, knowledgeable people, like apparently you.
And me.
And apparently
knowledgeable people and me.
Knowledgeable people and Dave, we're going to be getting them along to actually do workshops for us at Cherry Duck. So you'll be able to get your hands on the gear, learn a little bit about it. And I'm really looking forward to those as well.
It's going to be good. I think the first one we're going to do is going to be probably led by me, and we're going to do a Canon Speedlight Flash with Lasterlight flash modifiers to really show you what you can do with small Speedlight Flash light sources in a studio environment. We've also got some nice outside spaces around here. Obviously, central London, we've got a lot of stuff we can shoot. So that will probably be the first course coming up in a couple of months. So keep an eye on the website for that.
So I think that's it, we're done. And so thank you very much indeed for watching our first show. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've certainly enjoyed doing it.
We have, haven't we?
It's been a great laugh. And I just want to say thank you again to the guys at Cherry Duck. They've done a great job for us.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
He
Those
says with his
guys
one
behind
hand.
the camera with my one hand. I'm waving with one hand. Look at that.
They're
Thank
all
you.
waving behind there. So thank you very much indeed for watching, and we will see you very soon. Good night.
Night.